Hey, this is Mitch. Welcome back to the Life Stories channel. You know, everyone has led an interesting life and has had unusual things happen in it. Everyone could write a compelling, inspirational, humorous, or instructive autobiography that would provide wisdom, levity, or relief to those who are smart enough to choose to read it. This channel is an opportunity to enjoy the experiences of everyday people and to share in their joy, their laughter, their adventures, and yes, sometimes even their sorrows. I have a lot of stories and could provide years of content for this channel. However, that is not my goal. My goal is to share the stories from you and others like you, to provide a platform and a gathering place to tell those stories and for others to hear them. If you have an interesting, inspirational, or humorous story of your own, let me know. Just write it down or create a short 3 to 5 minute video and send it to me at lifestorieswithmitch@gmail.com. Political, religious, or controversial material will not be accepted, nor will sexually explicit or profane material. This channel is a place to escape those sorts of things. If you like the story you are watching, please hit the like button. If you want to continue to enjoy the experiences of everyday people, please subscribe. And if you know somebody who has an interesting story of their own or who enjoys good stories, please refer them here. So, I used to travel for business a lot. I spent about 2 weeks a month out of town. And traveling a lot, I have been on a lot of airplanes and been on a lot of flights, and I enjoyed the experience despite the rigors of having to go through TSA and crowded planes and dirty airports and all that kind of stuff. I treated it as corporate sponsored tourism. If you're going to go to a city just to see the hotel and the boardroom and the airport, what's the point of going? So I would always find a way after the meetings to get to some point of interest and experience some of the cities that I was actually traveling to. Now, this particular story that I'm going to tell is about a bad travel experience. If you travel enough, you develop plenty of those. I was in Seattle, Washington, doing a consulting gig and flying back to Columbus, Ohio on December 12th, 2010. For those of you who are Minnesota Viking fans, you should recognize that date. That's the date that the snow took down the roof at the Metrodome in Minneapolis. The company that I was consulting for booked my travel, so they booked me through Minneapolis, which is really a good idea to book through a northern airport in the middle of winter, but that's what they did. And after this particular trip, I made it a policy never to let anybody else ever book my travel for me. I always book my own. So I get to the airport, and in the lobby of the airport by the check-in desks the TVs are running, and every one of them has a picture of a snowplow clearing off the runway at the Minneapolis International Airport. And I'm starting to worry about what's going to happen on this flight because I got to connect through Minneapolis. And I get to TSA and the security checkpoint and do my thing. And when I go to the TSA checkpoints, I always had a joke. As I was taking off my belt and my shoes and my jacket, when I turn to the person behind me and tell them, it used to be when you said you were a stripper down by the airport, it meant that you danced with a pole and a seedy bar at the end of the runway. Now it just means you're taking a trip to Cleveland. I thought the joke was okay, and it at least broke the tension and the frustration of having to go through TSA, so it was good for that. So we get through security and go to the store and get a bottle of water and some snack for the plane, and I get to the gate, and the gate agent calls us to the flight about 8:30 in the morning, and all the televisions in the airport are still showing plows in the Minneapolis airport clearing the snow off the runway. And now they're talking about how the Minneapolis airport is going to be closed because of the snow. Well, when I get to the gate agent, I tell the gate agent that every television in the airport is telling us that the airport in Minneapolis is going to be closed. Are we really going to go try to get to Minneapolis right now? And her answer was that it requires a cancellation notice from the FAA in order to cancel a commercial flight, and since they hadn't received one, they were required to board us. So they boarded us on the plane, and we flew three hours out to Seattle, or out from Seattle to Minneapolis, and by the time we got to Minneapolis, they had indeed closed the airport. They also closed the airport in Sioux City, and Des Moines, and St. Louis, and Milwaukee, and Chicago, and Madison, and basically every airport in the upper Midwest. This is a huge snowstorm. I mean, it collapsed the roof at the Metrodome. They got 25 inches of snow at Minneapolis. There wasn't any airport in the upper Midwest that was open. So, without any alternatives, they flew us back to Seattle. When we left Seattle, we left out of gate 21. When we got back to Seattle, we arrived at gate 22. 7 hours in the air to travel 100 feet. A snail jacked up on caffeine could have made the trip in half the time. But I turned the thing into a positive experience. I booked a flight to Sacramento and spent a couple of days with my folks before heading back to Columbus when the weather cleared out. And so, all in all, while it was a bad travel experience to Minneapolis, it was a good experience overall. So I hope you enjoyed the story. Thank you for listening. Again, if you liked the story that you heard, please hit that like button. And if you want to hear more stories like this, subscribe and refer your friends here. Thanks.